Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast. Alongside Chris Level, I'm Chois Woodman. Chris?
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Chris, how we doing?
Good. Ready for, I guess, Super Bowl this weekend, this coming up weekend. And obviously the Red Raiders have, Grant's guys have lost a couple in a row. It's part of life in this league and doesn't get any
Fairy tales
easier.
over.
Well, no, it's just, it's real, realism, I guess, just when you get a dose of what, we can't all sit here and suggest that this league is as good as it is and then expect somebody to roll through it unscathed and all that, and everybody's going to take their shots. I mean, I thought Houston was one of the best teams in the country, and then they go get popped by a Kansas team that I don't even think is as good as a lot of Kansas teams I've seen before that. So, yeah, you just chalk it up, man.
Yeah, it's a monster of a league. We've said it over and over and over. When I said the fairy tale's over, I mean the fairy tale of being in first place. Now you're back with the pack. I mean, that's right with almost everybody else.
I was going to say everybody's in the pack. Yeah. It's not a one-man wolf pack. It's there's a whole lot going on there with the quote-unquote pack. Everybody, all 14 teams have at least 3 conference losses.
That's crazy.
Which is extremely telling.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because you just lost to Cincinnati 75-72 at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of, how do you lose to a bottom tier team? How do you lose to a not a good team? How do you lose to, I don't know what people are watching, but Cincinnati is good. And here's the thing. And the only metric that matters, okay, they're higher than you in the net. Yeah. By about 3 or 4 spots. I think you were like 6 higher than them yesterday, but after they beat you, they move ahead of you. So don't look at rankings. It's all about your net ranking. So I don't want to contradict myself. That's the ranking you should be looking at, because that's the one that the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee views. Don't get caught up in preseason rankings or current top 25 rankings or conference standings or all those things. Yeah, there's about 4 to 6 dudes that I would love to play for me off of that Cincinnati team.
Yeah.
I don't know what store you go buy Aziz Bandango at, but I'd like to purchase one.
He is very tall, very long, and it seems like they had 4 or 5 of those guys that were very tall, very long. Man, yeah, I don't feel like I'm panicking or anything like that. It just feels like you're part of the toughest league in the country. But we were sitting here a week ago riding pretty high after the Oklahoma game, and now you feel what basically the rest of the league has felt all season long. You're sitting at 5-1 after the Oklahoma game. You're sitting there thinking, oh, what if you go into Fort Worth and win that one? Because we said all along during this really tough stretch where you play 3 ranked opponents, 3 of them on the road, that if you went 2-2 during this stretch, you'd feel good. Opportunity's still there for that, though. You got Baylor this week, and that one's not an easy one to pick up on the road. None of them are, but that's if you can get to 2-2, you're back to where we talked about. Maybe just not the 2 that people expected.
Yeah, although Tuesday night in Waco is going to be extremely difficult. This is a Baylor team that is scares me. You still got them twice on the schedule, and that they were kind of written off a couple of weeks ago because they had lost 3 in a row, 3 very close losses, and they're playing some freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, which is expected to be a Jacoby Walters, I think supposed to be like a lottery pick, type player.
Right.
And the thing about playing freshmen in this league is when you're dealing with really talented ones, the league will chew them up, spit them out a little bit, but then if you stick with them, they just get better and better, especially very talented ones. And so I think Baylor's upside is yet to be realized. I think they're a team that you could probably get for a low price right now, and they a big payoff at the end. So we'll see. But yeah, the Red Raiders have 2 against them, and yeah, I mean, if you would have lost in Norman and then beaten Cincinnati, you'd kind of be where you thought you'd maybe be.
Right.
But yeah, you're trying to steal one of these road games, and then just you thought you'd win your home game here, and it just wasn't in the cards. Just kind of gotten different path to this point. Look, I don't want to like burst anybody's bubble here or anything, but you're scratching and clawing for everything you can get right now. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not. I mean, and Grant has said it a little bit and kind of hinted at it. You don't have big time talent on your basketball team. Pop Isaacs is a major talent, but he can only do so much. You've got a really good cast. They really like each other. They play hard. You've been essentially playing 6 players for a period of weeks and weeks now, and I think that it's worn on them a bit. I think they're starting to wear down a little bit. I think that yesterday versus Cincinnati, I think there was a lot of. I mean, you're talking about. I think one player doesn't come out of the locker room because he's getting an IV. At halftime, I think another player had 2 IVs after the game was over. Just a lot. You had one player missing because of illness, which is I think you had an assistant coach that was missing most of the day that just showed up for the game and was wearing a mask because of the and Grant all he would say after the game was over, we just had several that weren't in 100%, but yeah, you're dealing with like the flu or the bug or whatever, and then then you have Warren out there with a back brace on during timeouts.
Yeah.
You've got Chance McMillan who dinged his ankle up at the tail end of that TCU game earlier in the week, and you're just kind of glad he could play.
Yeah.
But he clearly didn't seem like himself. I mean, just on and on. But again, this is what you have to deal with. But this is where the lack of depth really kills you. And the one bright spot was Robert Jennings having a career day against Cincinnati in the first half with 14 and 6. I wish you could get this often from him. If you could, it would solve a depth problem, but I don't know, that may be a bit unrealistic. I don't know. I guess we will continue to see as the weeks go along.
Yeah, and on that, there was a question from Jason that asks, where was Lamar Washington?
You had this awkward pause. You had this
sorry.
awkward pause right there. I was
froze
like,
up a little.
What happened? Yeah.
But Jason asks, where was Lamar Washington in the game against Cincinnati? And he says, why did Yalaho get in the game as well? Because since we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, Lamar was homesick. I think he was part of the team stuff earlier in the day.
Okay.
But I think he was at home with an illness, according to the release. And as we've documented here, you had a variety of guys dealing with some semblance of that. It's kind of going around. It's very frustrating, and the show must go on, though, right? And EY is who you're asking about, and DeMarion Williams. Neither one of those 2 guys had played a second on the court since January the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at neither one of them had played any in Big 12 play at all. The last time they played was January the 1st versus North Alabama, and but you were trying to tap into your bench. Warren wasn't feeling well. I mean, you just there's being held together by duct tape right now. Your roster was so, yeah. And Grant had been saying it for weeks. There's gonna be guys on the end of the bench that aren't playing that we're gonna need and have to utilize, and we hope that they can respond, and I think that they will, and that's kind of what we saw.
Yeah,
but it wasn't enough to get a win. That's all that really matters.
Leah asks, in addition to McCaslin saying several players were not 100%. She says, was Pop hurt or sick? He didn't seem like himself against Cincinnati.
I think he was sick. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think he's, I
I've
think
seen a
that,
lot of people point to the body language of him just not looking right.
I think he was far less than 100%. But I just don't think that Grant is going to really get into a lot of that specifically and all that. I think he got hit by Johnny Newman on a screen
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was going to be a foul, but he got hammered, and he kind of was shaking his head a little bit. I'm led to believe that there was some migraine type symptoms there. I think that he was far less than 100% because I think he's one that's been dealing with the illness too, I believe. But nobody's said that on the record or specifically. That's just you're asking my opinion. So yeah, I mean, he was on the bench, and I think trying to gather himself and just trying to hit the reset button. But I mean, it's not like he checked out. He's the only reason you had a chance at the tail end of the game.
It's true.
I mean, he's giving you all he could and then some, and still went for. I mean, he got beat up for 40 minutes in this one. Well, technically, he played 35 minutes, 13 seconds. They pushed him, they shoved him, they hit him. They were going to. He was going to feel Cincinnati, and he felt it for 35 minutes and 13 seconds. I mean, Johnny Newman, tough player, borderline dirty, borderline. I mean, very physical, but
He had
I mean,
two hands on Pop almost the entire night. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and they kind of let a lot go on, and so that's that. You have to adjust, but to Pop's credit, he figured out a way to still get 22 points. And that's what's amazing about this kid, man. It's like, you shut this down, I'll do this. You shut that down, I'll do this. But he just scores. He figures out a way to score for his team, whether it's free throw line, whether it's 3-point shots, whether it's floaters in the lane, whatever. He just figures out a way to score. He has the 5 turnovers. Some of those, it's like miscommunication, and it's like quarterback receiver. I don't know if that's on Robert Jennings and Warren Washington, because there was a couple of alley-oops, man, that like Warren's open and he just like, oh man, I didn't know you were about to throw that right then, and so it's one of those deals. Typically though, that's why the turnover gets associated to the passer, because it's what coaches always say, it's the passer's fault always. You got to make sure before you throw that pass. But yeah, I thought he bossed up, man. But I think he and Warren, I think, were two that were far less than 100% for sure.
Along those same lines of some of that you just mentioned, Sam asks, did we get the C team of Big 12 officials? Why were they so inconsistent on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you can go look at what they're saying in Waco this morning. There's I believe you have a head coach that was ejected for the first time in his career. Then you have an athletic director. I just know this, under the previous regime, they would both be getting a reprimand publicly for their commentary this morning. I don't know if Rhett Yormark rolls that way like Bob Bowlesby did, and his reprimand heavy tenure, which is the dumbest thing in the history of administration, is the public reprimand. It
there's
makes
nothing
me want to set myself on fire. It makes me want to set myself on fire. Okay. Yeah. You just got me fired up, Woodman. Okay. Okay. Officiating. Yes.
It wasn't me.
Look, I think if you are expecting it to be perfect or really consistent, I just think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, because there's a lot of good officials in this league, but I think that there's been some that have moved on or retired, like John Higgins, and so you've seen a younger group kind of get worked in with some veteran guys. And so I think that was, Jeb Hartness was maybe the lead guy in Waco last night. I think Gary Maxwell was the lead guy in Lubbock yesterday. And so, you don't have 3 veteran officials that you're trotting out there every single night for all these games. And the league is expanded. There's more league games now.
True.
There's extra because you're expanded, and it will continue that way, obviously, next year. So I get frustrated with it. I don't like inconsistencies. That's the main thing that I'm asking for. But
Right.
I just think, yeah, we all have to understand that that's just going to be the way it goes sometimes, and I need to obviously listen to my own advice and like talk to myself in the mirror about such things because the
Level, you there? Froze up.
yes, you did.
No, you froze up.
No, you just been standing there freezing.
Okay.
I
All
never.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's back. I'll cut that last part out after you froze.
You're showing that you're muted on my end too. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Man, it's
I think
working
your
on.
internet sucks, dude. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. There's a good chance of it. Kids, get off the internet. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Start back over here with a new question.
How long did you get the whole thing or what?
Yeah, I got pretty well the whole thing, and then it just
Okay.
I was about to ask another question, then it froze. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Level, sticking with basketball, another question. This one from Landon says, how far do you think this team can go in March if we get there, of course?
Yeah, it's not you're what, 5-3 in the league. I think it's gonna take you getting to 8 or 9 league wins at a minimum, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody's got 9 teams in right now. I just don't know what it all is going to look like when everybody, when you sort it through, and is there separation at any level? Is it all a jumbled up mess? I don't know, but I mean, I think 8-10 or 9-9, it would be where I would, want to live, if not obviously better. I don't want to live there. You want to be better, but I mean, that would be where I'd say, okay, you don't want any worse than that. But yeah, you can get to March, but hey man, as we've just sit here talked about, to Landon's question, you got to stay healthy. You've got to stay healthy. You've got to maneuver your way through the rest of this league race. You can't afford any more like Devin Cambridge type scenarios. You don't need anybody sick on some of these nights.
Yeah.
You need all hands on deck. And but it's very evident to me too, speaking of March, because it'll all happen fairly quickly, like into April and whatnot. But it's pretty clear to me that Grant is well aware of what they need to fix what ails them here with their roster,
Mhm.
and all those kinds of things. And it's not like you can go fix it all right now. That's the frustrating part. You can't
Right.
go make a trade. You can't trade a draft pick for a player. You can't go make a midseason acquisition or whatever it may be. There's no G League to call guys up from, or whatever. So it is what it is right now. You're having to manage it, and you're just trying to do the best you can with it.
One more basketball question from Mark. Says a flaw in this team is defending the three. It seems like as if teams who don't shoot well from beyond the arc do shoot well against Tech. How does Coach Mack resolve this going into the offseason?
Yeah, you get longer and more athletic, because I think the shooters in this league are so good that if it's not a contested three, more often than not, they're in.
Yeah.
And then you've got guys that make contested threes in this league.
Yeah.
I think that they look. I'm stating an obvious. They all know it. They know they need more size and length and depth and all the stuff. It's well documented on why you got to this point. You're missing Cambridge, who would have helped you dramatically at this point in some of these games, like we saw versus Cincinnati and versus TCU. But yeah, I think there's you give up some uncontested looks and you're slower on closeouts just simply because of like the math of I'm running at you with a 6'2" frame, and other teams are running at you with a 6'5" to 6'6" frame
Yeah.
with the hand up. I think that overall, the whole body of work, I think there's something to that.
Okay, Level, quick preview of what's ahead for Tech this week, starting with Baylor, before we turn and look towards the Tech football schedule release. But Baylor this week, you mentioned this is a team that is dangerous, picked as one of the top 3 in the league coming in. They haven't necessarily performed as that up to this point, but a very talented basketball team.
Oh yeah, talented, deep, have a lot of size. There's a lot of pieces there that and I just don't think they've played their best yet. I think it's a tough spot to be placed in. That's why you really needed to beat Cincinnati, and you wouldn't be as worried about it. But now you could be staring at a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Misi and Walter are 2 of the best freshmen in the entire Big 12. They just happen to be both playing for Baylor. But they've got a variety of guards, and I mean they're just again, I just don't think they've played their best yet. They're still progressing, but I just it's going to be a tough matchup. And you're at Foster Pavilion, the brand new arena on the banks of the Brazos, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Much smaller venue and all that, but certainly has created much more of a home court advantage for the Bears compared to what they dealt with at the Farrell Center. And then you come home and you play Johnny Dawkins and the UCF Golden Knights or Knights. One of those I was supposed to say, one of those you're not supposed to say. I think it's just the Knights, right?
Yeah,
you
no,
take
no
away
gold
the
to
Golden.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be Golden?
I don't know. I haven't understood that, but
yeah, that's right. But that, yeah, and I could see where that Central Florida game all of a sudden is like kind of like must win type stuff if you can't get
yeah,
it done in Waco,
feels like it.
just to get some feel good going. And then you turn right around. You got Super Bowl on Sunday, and then the Jayhawks are here for a big Monday
Oh boy.
night game. So yeah, it's just a interesting sports stretch there. Next weekend and spills into early next week. But that's kind of what you're staring at right now. But your next Saturday home game, just to put it in perspective, like you'll play UCF on Saturday at home. You won't be at home again on a Saturday until I think it's senior day when you play. I think it may be Baylor. It's either Baylor or TCU that is here on the very last Saturday of the regular season. And at that point,
that's right. It is Baylor.
Then okay, Baylor. Yeah, then at that point you're off to Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament in the days after that. So as you can look off into the distance, not a whole. There's a lot left, but then there's not a whole lot left.
True.
So, but you've got a Saturday home game next weekend, and then you're on the road for. I'll be on the road for the next 3 Saturdays. Ames, Orlando, and Morgantown. I know you're jealous, Woodman. I know you are.
Orlando, yes. I don't know about the other 2. I could spend a Saturday in Orlando, but the other 2 I would. So, Level. Speaking of Ames, we talked about a preview of the schedule last week when we were together. The schedule was released for Texas Tech football and all of Big 12 football on Tuesday of this previous week. Ames, that was the one negative that I could really pick out, that you do still get a November in Ames. It's not late November, but you still get November in Ames. Other than that, man, it's hard to really nitpick it at much on this schedule. Seems fairly favorable for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, there's been some people that have had issue with the fact that like there's 4 or 5 teams that come off of a bye week and play Texas Tech. I've seen that.
Okay.
I don't think you can get caught up into that being a
sure.
But I love the 2 bye weeks. I don't know if this is something that they will be able to continue to do. The calendar is a bit stretched out this year because you actually start
right
in August, and then there's an extra week in November. The way the Saturdays fall and all that. But I love the dual bye week because I just like the fact that the college football season kind of will last longer.
Right.
It feels like you can kind of take a breath at times instead of just like you look up and it's like, okay, we're going to play 12 weeks straight weeks and then boom, it's over. You know, I mean, like squeeze it out a little bit so that they've done that. But I think you have a chance to build some momentum early. You know, 4 of your first 5 are at home, 5 of your first 7 are at home, I think. Now,
Correct.
the flip side of that is
Yeah.
you've got the backside is there's some road trips there. To me, the toughest game on your schedule is either at Arizona or at Oklahoma State. However, I have no idea what either one of those teams will be or you will be by that time. I'm just looking at it right now with what we think we would know. I think your toughest little stretch there is like those back-to-back road trips to Ames and to Fort Worth in late October, early November. I was thrilled. I think average temperature in Ames, Iowa in early November is like 58 to 34 is kind of the range.
Yeah.
I'll hope for much closer to 58 than 34, but hey, man,
As long
I'll
as it's
take
not
34 if that's what you're doling out, or 0
Yeah.
or a minus in front of anything. But I won't be surprised in the slightest, because I sat through a game in this stadium late October, early November this past year, and it was cold. It was raining sideways. But yeah, your game in Stillwater could have some serious weather
That's true.
implications.
That's true. Yeah, that one.
As much as an Ames would, don't think it would be quite as cold, but I mean they get plenty of shenanigans that time of year in Oklahoma, so I would almost expect that.
Do you like
So
do you like the 5 out of 7 at home? And I think your first 3 Big 12 opponents at home all had 3 wins last year too. So it really gives you an opportunity to start off fast, which is what you didn't do this past year. You went 1-3 to open the season this past year. So do you like that, or do you wish it was more balanced?
I like it. The tricky thing about when you have that many home games like in a row or in short time frame,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can hurt attendance
True.
because people are like, you wait so long and then it's like you get it every single weekend. You're like, okay, well, you kind of it's one of those deals where you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And so like when you're on the road and like I can't wait for them to come back home, it's like, well, no, they're home every weekend, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a period, it's going to feel like that for a period of time. I just hope, yeah, and there's not a lot of let's just call it what it is. There's not a ton of like national juice
Yeah.
on those home games initially. Yeah, you want to come see your team. Yeah, you want to come see the renovations and be part of the and all that. But I mean, Arizona State and Cincinnati, not necessarily gonna get everybody just too fired up. As far as like a lot of recent history and all the stuff. Um, but I'm looking forward to you trying to build some momentum. Yeah. And like trying to start off hot, because I mean, with your home schedule being what it is, if you win all of them, or if you win all but one, whatever, you've already done the bowl eligible thing and you hadn't even played a road game yet, so.
Yeah. Someone, our only football question, or our only schedule question we got, this one's from Matt, says, Level, I told myself I wasn't going to drink the Kool-Aid this year, but I look at this schedule and I can legitimately see 9 or 10 wins. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, you're not. However, the dude that's sitting in Tucson or Morgantown or Ames or Fort Worth, Orlando, Manhattan,
It's a lot of
Lawrence.
locations. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. They are all probably saying the same thing, and you know what? And they wouldn't be wrong either. When you take Texas and Oklahoma off and you put, because some of this is just about who you play versus who you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because you kind of look at it like the fact that there's a group of contenders and then there's a group of like serious question marks.
Yeah.
Well, of the most of the teams that you play, or let me rephrase that you don't play, there's a larger group of contenders in that segment.
Yeah, you
than not.
avoided Utah, Kansas State, and Kansas. All would be in
Well,
that contender group,
and
right?
Central Florida.
And UCF, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't play UCF. You don't play. You know, would you have preferred to play BYU? Maybe. Would you? I'm trying to remember who else you've missed because you missed what, 6 of them or 7
6,
of them.
7, yeah, 7.
Yeah, but yeah, I think not playing either one of the Kansas schools and like a Utah is probably a thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And again, your first 3 Big 12 home games are against teams that totaled 9 wins last year
Yeah,
between Arizona.
Cincy, Arizona State, and Baylor. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
So you, I think in terms of the who you play versus who you don't, it definitely is on the more favorable side for Texas Tech. But again, we can all drink the Kool-Aid. It's February. We got a long time until there's a season upon us. But yeah, Level, I think that about does it for us this week. Appreciate your time, and we'll do it again next week. Hopefully after a win over the Don't Call Me Golden Knights.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
fine.
it
I always
yeah, it
find it comical
was.
with the naming and all that.
I know it's like, you're not supposed to call TCU Texas Christian University.
Right.
And after some of the things that they yelled and screamed and said at the basketball game this week, I wouldn't call them Christian
Probably.
either.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I think Haxton and I spent a great deal of time calling them Texas Christian University, and on the broadcast the other day. I don't know. I think I said it a few times on
It's good.
accident, and I think I was like, you know what? I don't know if
Just
I'm
roll
supposed to
with
say
it.
that. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Golden Knight fans. Apologies. You'll just be the Knights to me forever and going forward. I appreciated it. But yeah, you gotta. I don't know how we'll do this, but you have an early lead on the Super Bowl. Like, you feeling Niners? You feeling Chiefs?
Ooh.
You gonna go with the flow and Lubbock, since everybody's a lifelong Chiefs fan, and kind of root for.
I am a lifelong Patrick Mahomes fan. I've been following him since his little kid days in White House. Just kidding. Uh,
Oh, okay, I was
no,
like, really? Okay, yeah.
no,
I don't think
no.
you even knew who he was until.
Jamie Lent actually did know him when he was a little kid, when he lived in White House. But he's probably the only person in Lubbock that can claim that. I would say, um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
It's
Jamie Lent's also a Bills fan, and Jamie Lent was rooting against
oh yeah, he
Patrick
was.
Mahomes when the Bills played the Chiefs,
And
right?
Jamie has to hang out with 2 Chiefs at work too, so he's pretty
Oh,
fed
they're
up with it.
yeah, I know, I know.
No, I would say it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. He is 9-3 playoffs and regular season in his career, 9-3 outright when he's an underdog, and he is an
Yeah.
underdog going into this one, at least as of right now. So be hard, but I think it is as much of a toss up as any game we've had in the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
it should be a doozy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think the Niners have, other than Kelsey, they
Mhm.
have like the next giant collection of offensive skill talent. I mean, like, you talk about Kittle and Ayuk and Samuel and McCaffrey, who's at the top of the. I mean, all those guys are better than everybody that Kansas City has, with the exception of Travis Kelsey. But it's just a matter of what Brock Purdy can do, and he didn't particularly play well in the
True.
NFC Championship game. He did at the end when it mattered, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't know how anybody can like bet against Pat. He's just
It's kind
he
of the
he,
same
he
thing with
make
Brady, right? You just don't bet
yeah,
against
it's
him.
like he makes it look easy, and it's
Yeah.
not.
No.
It's not. It's sometimes very flashy, sometimes it's not, but
No.
sometimes it's just making the simple play over and over again, and all that. But yeah, I think the Chiefs probably end up winning a close one. But you never know, man. Vegas, shenanigans, Swifties, and all kinds of
Oh
celebrity,
yeah.
and there's just no telling what all could go on in Allegiant Stadium there in Vegas. But I wouldn't want to be. I've been told that it cost you 22 grand just to land your plane on the runway that particular weekend.
Oh.
Just,
Whoa.
just to like give me a window of airspace or runway or whatever, just to be able to land. It's like a fee,
That's
and they can
unreal.
get it, and they could probably get more. The players, I do know
Whoa.
this too. The players are staying. I don't know if it's like Summerlin or there's like some communities that are like half an hour outside of
Okay.
Vegas that are actually really big communities.
Right.
I know somebody that lives in one of these, and it's but it's about 25-30 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then part of the NFL decree is that no player is allowed to step foot inside any kind of casino
Yeah.
all week.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. And all these guys have all been there on their own time at
Oh,
various
sure.
times of their
Sure.
lives and all those things. But yeah, it'd be a bit of a circus next week. But yeah, they'll be kind of far away from it as much as possible.
Yeah, should
So
be a very interesting and fun Super Bowl, but we'll see. We'll talk about that one, of course, next time. And thanks to our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction, as usual, for sponsoring this podcast. Thanks to you, Level. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week.
enjoyed it, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, Woodman.
Absolutely. That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. It's been the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.